If I mention the Portuguese national team and the only player you can think of is Cristiano Ronaldo, watch this video. Don't be a casual. This is a Portugal squad with a real legitimate shot at repeating as European champions, and it's not just because of that man CR7. Folks, welcome back to number 3 of my European Championship previews. It is so nice to see you all again. If you're new, welcome. Kick back, you're in the right place. Make yourself at home and maybe also click that subscribe button if you would feel so inclined to do so. We are talking about Portugal today, a Seleção, the defending champions of this competition. And as you'll find out a little bit later in this video, this is a group that I am so high on for this summer's Euros. So many talented players entering the primes of their career paired with one of the greatest to ever grace a football pitch. What is not to love about Portugal in 2020? Unfortunately, I don't have a Portugal kit to wear today. I never got one, so guess I gotta roll with what I got. Let's get into it though. We will take a look at the manager, the tactics, the group, but first and foremost, as per the usual, let's take a look at the players that Portugal have brought to the Euros. And of course, the big name in this squad list that everybody will know is Cristiano Ronaldo, 36 years old. I don't need to talk much about him because it's Cristiano. But the big question surrounding this man at this year's Euros, could this be his last major international tournament? He'll be nearing 38 when World Cup 2022 rolls around. He's leaving Juventus in the summer most likely. Who knows what his future has in store? Regardless of what's coming up down the road, he will still play a massively important role in this Portuguese side. But this is a Portugal attack with so much more than just Cristiano Ronaldo. Talented pieces everywhere. And the first one that I want to highlight is Atletico Madrid's Joao Felix, who will likely be playing over on the left. His biggest asset, what Felix does best, at least at this stage in his career, is he's just a progressive forward, likes to move the ball to pitch, likes to run at defenders. Not the most pure goal scorer yet, but what's nice is that he's not going to have to be at this year's Euros. His primary role for this year's Euros will be to create down that left-hand side, and that's totally fine, because this Portugal squad have Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes, Diogo Jota, Andre Silva coming off the bench. They've got enough players who can find the back of the net. It will not be Joao Felix's responsibility to score all of the goals. He's going to be a creative player down the left-hand side, and that's what I think he does best. Diogo Jota is another player that I want to highlight in this Portuguese attack because he, I think, will also have a massively important role to play. He's going to be the one to start on the right-hand side most likely, but he's not going to spend much of his time there. He's going to try to get centrally like he does with Liverpool, get into the penalty area, finish off chances, stay in that central channel, allow maybe somebody like Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes in midfield to get wide and occupy that right flank. But Diogo Jota, breakout player with Liverpool, and he's hitting his peak at the right time for this Portuguese squad as well. Coming off the bench, Andre Silva is not a bad piece to have at all. Only scored like 28 league goals with Eintracht Frankfurt this season. Third in the Bundesliga behind two players named Robert Lewandowski and Erling Haaland. Pretty good company for the Portuguese striker. If Portugal need a goal, or maybe as Joao Felix is just having a stinker of a match one day, you pull him off, move Cristiano over to the left-hand side, let Andre Silva occupy those central channels. You'll get your goal. That's just the kind of player that Andre Silva is. The last point I want to make about this Portugal attack, Pedro Gonçalves is a player who really fascinates me. Admittedly, I don't think he'll have a massive role to play in this year's Euros unless there's a situation that really calls for him, but one of Portugal's most exciting young players, only 22, 23 years old, who is actually Bruno Fernandes' replacement at Manchester United when he left for Old Trafford last January. 23 league goals in his first season with Sporting in Liga NOS. He is one for the future. He's in the team. Happy to see it. Again, don't think he'll make a huge impact, but still excited to see him included in Portugal's 26-man squad. Looking at the midfield, and the first name that jumps out at you will be Bruno Fernandes, one of the world's best number 10s. He's been fantastic since he moved to Manchester United 18 months ago. He'll be responsible, along with Joao Felix, with creating chances in the attacking phase, because this midfield is very defensive, with the exception of Bruno Fernandes kind of leading the lines, getting into the final third. He's going to be responsible for the creativity, but he can also get into the box, try to finish off chances. He can sit at the edge of the penalty area and shoot from distance. He is going to be so important for this Portugal attack in the creative phase of things. Elsewhere in the midfield, I absolutely love when teams play with a traditional number 6. That's exactly what Portugal have got in the form of Danilo at PSG, and his role is it's just so sweet because he's not going to be asked to do a whole lot, But the things that he is going to be asked to do, he's so good at, and I love watching him play in this Portugal team. His job is very simple. It's to sit in front of the center backs, screen the back line, intercept. He intercepts the ball very well, win the ball back, and then spark the attack, spark the transition. He is damn near impossible to take off the ball when it's at his feet. He only gets dispossessed 0.82 times per 90 minutes. That is fantastic, especially for a player who plays in the heart of midfield for PSG. And it's also going to give Bruno Fernandes a bit more freedom to move further up the pitch. It's very similar to the Declan Rice-Mason Mount relationship that I'm expecting to see with England. England have a fantastic defensive midfielder, lets the more attacking-minded players breathe a little bit easier and get further up the pitch if they want to. It's the same with Danilo and Bruno Fernandes. It is the exact same dynamic. We're also likely going to see William Carvalho fill out this three-man midfield playing at Real Betis. Another another more defensive-minded than attack-minded midfielder. Somebody who likes to sit back. He'll probably, truthfully, form a pivot with Danilo and turn the team into a faux like 4-2-3-1 with Bruno really getting high up the pitch. But Carvalho and Danilo, two very good defensive midfielders. Carvalho a bit more progressive. He's going to be the one to carry the ball up the pitch. Danilo will win the ball back, and he's going to look for Carvalho or Bruno Fernandes. They're the ones who are going to attack the attacking thirds. And like I said, his presence will allow Bruno to get further up the pitch, to play as a true number 10, and that's where he is at his best, is in the attacking third, making things happen, pulling the strings. Three midfield pieces that all complement each other very nicely. Coming off the bench, Portugal have some quality pieces as well in midfield. They've got a Wolves pairing of Ruben Neves and Joao Moutinho, two players who have plenty of quality and may see some starting minutes depending on the matchups. But the player that I want to highlight in terms of off the bench is Sergio Oliveira at FC Porto. And it's because I think he and Bruno Fernandes are the only two players in this Portuguese midfield, at least in my opinion, who can consistently provide goals and assists from those midfield positions, which, as we know, is so important in international competitions like this one. 13 goals, 6 assists for Oliveira in Liga NOS this season. It is, truth be told, a relatively defensive midfield with Carvalho, with Danilo. Neves and Moutinho are a bit more progressive, but they're not players that excel in the final third. Oliveira and Bruno Fernandes are, so I think there will be a role to play for Sergio Oliveira in this competition, even if he's not starting. Maybe he comes on for William Carvalho late in the match if Portugal need a goal. I think if Portugal are forced with subbing off Danilo or Carvalho, it'll probably be Carvalho to come off just because of what Danilo does provide defensively. But Oliveira and Bruno Fernandes low-key create a very dangerous attacking midfield partnership if they're on the pitch at the same time. I don't know if low-key is a phrase used in Europe, so if any European viewers are watching and don't know what that means, under the radar, very quietly, a very good attacking midfield pairing. That's my American showing up. Do they say low-key in England? If you're from Europe watching this video, let me know in the comments if you guys say low-key. The defense is led by a rising star and two veterans. That's Ruben Dias at Manchester City, along with Jose Font and Pepe. All three of them center backs. Don't expect all three of them to start, though. Expect Portugal to play with four at the back. And that's because this is a Portugal side that also includes Joao Cancelo, who is one of my absolute favorite wide defenders on the planet, and Rafael Guerreiro, who is one of the best in the business at attacking from that fullback position. 5 goals and 11 assists for Guerreiro in the Bundesliga this season. Good to have him on that left side as well, because he'll be able to get up the pitch. He'll be able to help Joao Felix in the creative attacking portion of the game. Joao Felix won't be isolated on that left side because Guerreiro will be there. You will see Guerreiro in the attacking third more than in the defensive third, most likely. That's just the way this man plays. As for Joao Cancelo, Pep Guardiola has turned him into one of the most fascinating and talented fullbacks in the world in the last 12, 24 months. A player who can come into midfield. Did we just lose power? Pep Guardiola has turned him into one of the most intriguing fullbacks on the entire planet in the last 12 to 24 months. And it's because of the role that he's been given. There's my power again. He will, out of possession, play at right back. But when the team have the ball in their possession, he'll play in midfield. He'll get involved with the build-up. He will look to get forward at times. Not many fullbacks can do that. But Cancelo thrives in that role because A, he has a fantastic passing range. He can pick out a pass to damn near anywhere. And B, his recovery pace is good enough that if Manchester City lose the ball, he can get back into that right back slot without conceding too much space on that side. There is a true goalkeeper battle in the Portugal camp, and it's a fascinating one because it involves two very talented number ones, Rui Patricio at Wolves and Anthony Lopez at Lyon. For a long, long time, like for the past 2 or 3 years, it's been Patricio getting pretty much all of the caps. But in 2021, that's shifted. It's become Anthony Lopez who's gotten most of the starts when Portugal have been playing in this calendar year. Do you go with the experienced of Patricio? Do you go with arguably the more talented with Anthony Lopez? I think statistically, Lopez probably was a bit better than Patricio was this season. I'd probably go for Anthony Lopez as well, just strictly based off of form, but good problem to have to an extent, as long as you don't fumble the bag and mess everything up. Two really good goalkeepers fighting for that number one spot. I'd go for Anthony Lopez, but Rui Patricio, very, very talented in his own right and would suffice perfectly fine if he was given the job. In charge of the Portuguese national team is Fernando Santos, who took the job following the 2014 World Cup, been there for 7 years. This man is what we call a football lifer. Spent 17 years as a player, immediately went into managing in 1987, and has been a manager at the professional level ever since. Now, he's no innovative or tactical or cutting-edge genius, but you can still argue that he's been one of, if not the most successful managers in the history of the Portuguese national team. He helped guide Portugal to its first major international trophy ever in 2016 when Adair's dramatic extra time goal pushed Portugal past France 1-0 in the Euro final. Then he won the inaugural UEFA Nations League in 2018, 2019, two major international trophies. Well, depending on what you think of the Nations League, because it is still very young. Some don't think it's a major trophy. That's aside from the point. 2 trophies since he took over in 2014 is not too shabby for a national team that always had the flair and the talent and the stars, but never had the trophies to go with it. Again, he's no tactical genius. He's no innovative wizard. He does make adjustments, and that's one of the reasons why Portugal fans gravitate towards him to an extent, is that he understands when his tactics have been tested and when they need to be changed. But regardless of all of that, he gets results, and whether that's up to him or whether that's up to his talent, the players that he has, that's for you to decide. But the objective truth is 2 trophies in 7 years, and he's got Portugal as one of the favorites to win the European Championships this season. How can we expect Portugal to play under Santos? Well, there's 2 formations that I'm expecting to see rather consistently. That's a 4-3-3 and a 4-2-3-1. We touched on both of those things a bit earlier in the video when we talked about the midfield players that Portugal had to choose from. But what could be interesting is Portugal in 2018 in that World Cup also played in a 4-4-2. I don't think they'll be using that much this tournament based on the personnel. It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. They had Bruno Fernandes playing right midfield, for example. That is not something he'll be doing in this year's tournament. But you know, just for shits and gigs, let's go ahead and see what a 4-4-2 would look like with this year's Portuguese squad. These are those 3 shapes, how Portugal could line up. But again, throw caution to the wind. Those first 2 formations are the most likely ones that we'll see Portugal play in the summer. And if you watched my France video, you all know the drill. Group of death is what Portugal are stuck in this season, and we talked about this group in my last video, so I'll try not to say too much of the same thing. But what I will say again, and when I preview Germany, I'll say it again, is every single match in this group is absolutely must watch. In terms of Portugal specifically, I think the tactical battle is going to be really, really fascinating because their style of play is just, it's so much different from a France or a Germany. 2 sides that will look to play an attack. Not so much France as much as Germany, but players who like to have the ball, like to be on the front foot, like to get the ball into the attacking third, because that's where most of their talent is. Portugal are content with sitting back, absorbing pressure, and then hitting quickly. I would not be surprised if we saw Portugal not park the bus, but play in a very low block and look to hit on the counter against clubs like France and Germany. And it's because they've got the luxury to rely on their defensive players. Like we said, when we looked at the squad, it is a very defensive midfield, and it has its pros and it has its cons. But one of the pros is that these really, really attack-minded sides, France and Germany, have to get through a midfield that includes William Carvalho, that includes Danilo, and then a really good back 4. Portugal have that luxury to be able to sit back, absorb a little bit, because they're just more naturally defensive than really any other nation in this group. I assume Hungary will play very similarly just because they're going to be looking for points anywhere they can get them. But Portugal have the luxury to sit back a bit and then hit on the counter. But what makes this tactical battle so fascinating is that Portugal could do something completely different. And it wouldn't come as too much of a surprise because they just have that luxury. They can sit back a bit more defensively and look to hit on the counter and absorb pressure. Or they could just try to control the midfield. They could try to win the ball back in that central third with Danilo and William Carvalho, two big, physical, ball-winning midfielders. Maybe they try to win the ball back a bit further up the pitch and progress the ball quicker into the attacking phase where they've got their more skilled players. I truly don't know how Portugal will play, and that's why I'm so gravitated towards them. That's not a bad thing. I don't know how they're going to play because they can play in so many different ways, and that's why I'm so high on them this year as well. Like I said, I love teams that use a traditional number 6. Portugal is one of them. I love teams that implement attacking fullbacks. Portugal's got 2 of them. I think Rafael Guerreiro's presence on the left side, like I said, opens up space for Joao Felix, prevents him from being overmatched on that left-hand side. And who knows, maybe against a team like France, who I think are the surefire favorites to win this thing regardless, maybe that's, somewhere that Portugal can exploit down their left flank with Guerreiro and with Joao Felix. It'll probably be Benjamin Pavard playing right back for France, who's fine. He's certainly good defensively, but he's a center back playing in a right back role, not the most nimble. Maybe having a very direct fullback in Rafael Guerreiro and a creative, nifty, pacey winger in Joao Felix causes some problems down on that side. So I am in love with this Portugal squad. I think they're going to be so much fun to watch at the Euros. I do think they advance out of the group. And I know I've got some Germany fans who watch these videos who will be disappointed to hear me say this, but I think Portugal finish second in Group F. I think it goes France, Portugal, Germany, Hungary. Germany could still advance to the round of 16 though, because 4 of the 6 third-place teams also get into the round of 16, if you weren't familiar with how the competition works. But do I think Germany will get through? That's for my Germany preview video. You're going to have to come back and watch that one at a later date to see if I think Germany advance out of this group of death as well. So that will do it for me, but I want to know how you guys think Portugal will do in this summer's Euros. A seleção. Let me know if or how far you think they advance out of the group phase. I already know my German buddy Barhu disagrees, so I want you to let me know why I'm wrong about Portugal, why you think that Germany will finish the group on top with 9 points and beat France and Portugal. On the serious note, let me know in the comments how you guys all think Portugal will do in this competition. I am fascinated to hear all of your opinions. As always, if you liked what you saw, please be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, turn on that bell so you don't miss a single upload. Plenty more nations still to preview, including the 2 over my shoulders, the Netherlands and Italy. Those videos are coming in the future, along with Germany and hopefully some Copa America nations that we'll sit down and talk about this week and next week as well. So like, subscribe, turn on that bell so you don't miss a single video. Please be sure to follow me on Twitter at WillFowler5. Follow London's Finest on Twitter. London's Finest is the show that me and 2 of my buddies do every single week. Well, it's not true, not every single weekday, but 2 or 3 days a week. We'll hop on a Zoom call, talk about the biggest stories in the world of football. We've got our Euro and Copa America previews coming up this week. So that's at London's Finest QU. You are not going to want to miss that, and I will link both of those things in the description below. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.